Welcome, everybody. This is G Cobb with you, and we're going to be talking about this Eagles 49ers NFC Championship game. Should be a good one, but we're going to talk about the Eagles offense versus the Niners defense. We're going to take a look at that closely because the Niners are supposed to have the best defense in the league. Everybody, they're number one. So they do have a very good defense. They've got a lot of good players over there. The Niners defense versus the Eagles offense. Now, the Eagles offense, they kind of stalled a little bit later in the season because Jalen Hurts went out, but Hurts is back, saw a impressive performance against the Giants. The Eagles really leaned on their running game, and we're going to talk about this game. I think if the Eagles running game gets going, they could really get after the Niners defense. I mean, they can attack them and they could really do some damage if they get that running game going. And they've got the people to do it. That the Eagles offensive line, they're the key. They're the key. They start talking about Stoutland University and all that stuff. But that's the key. And I think the Eagles need to run right at the 49ers. They should not be where they're worried about getting outside. You might be able to get outside at times, but they need to run right at them because the 49ers linebackers, you've got, two guys. Of course, one of them is a Pro Bowl middle linebacker in Fred Warner. And then you've got another talented guy in Dre Greenlaw. That's just with the two linebackers in there, which is what you're going to see most of the time because the Eagles are going to have those extra. They're going to have that third receiver in there. So most of the time you're going to see the two linebackers, and these guys are exceptional. Great athletes. They're about 6'1", 6'2", and they weigh about 225, 230 pounds, but they can run. These guys can run like defensive backs, very fast, quick, and that's what allows them to be so effective in there. And they get their hands on the ball. These guys intercept passes. If you throw the ball in there, you better be on the money, and you better not be throwing the ball late because they will pick it off. The whole group, their defense, very opportunistic, and a bunch of the guys are looking at the numbers. They've had a lot of interceptions. So they get their hands on football. So the big thing the Eagles have got to do is, Jalen Hurts, he's got to be on the money with his throws, and he's got to make good decisions because the Eagles are going to have to take care of the football. And in a game, in any NFL game, turnovers is the huge stat. It's not sacks. It's not just yardage. A lot of times it's turnovers. And so the Eagles, they want to win the turnover battle. So that's what's going to be very important, that they win the turnover battle. Now, I would like to see them run right at the 49ers. 49ers, they've got an outstanding group. But we saw last week when the Eagles were playing the Giants, you had Dexter Lawrence inside. Now, I tell you, Dexter Lawrence has played as well as any defensive tackle in the league, really better. I mean, he was dominating. Against the Vikings, he was killing the Vikings. Just him alone was putting on a pass rush on the Vikings because he was basically picking up the center and carrying him back into the face of Cousins, the quarterback. And he was a monster. We didn't hear from him very much when the Eagles played him. He was out there most of the time, but we didn't hear from Dexter Lawrence. And we didn't hear from his buddy, Leonard Williams. And now these are two outstanding defensive tackles that the Eagles took care of them. You did not hear a lot from those guys. They did play in the game, but the Eagles handled them. That really what it says is the Eagles have an outstanding offensive line, and they had a good game. And they did an outstanding job because they really ran the ball right up the gut of the Giants defense. They ran the ball right where those tackles are supposed to be. And those two guys, a lot of people were saying before the game, They were the best, unit or duo of tackles in the league, and they played so well against the Vikings. But the Eagles ran the ball right up the gut, and that's what they need to do against the Niners. They need to run the ball right at Fred Warner. They need to run the ball right at Dre Greenlaw, because those guys, they're not that big, and they need to run at them. The Eagles' big offensive linemen coming off on them, pushing them back. That's what we want to see. We want to see them grind those guys. I mean, wear them down, pound them, because they're great athletes. And if you try to run outside, man, these guys, they are fast. And they go out and they make plays. They're good open field tacklers, outstanding out linebacker group. Guys, very good. But, you got to deal with Eric Armstead, who is Pro Bowl player, and Javon Kinlaw. Those are the two tackles for the 49ers. But they're not supposed to be as good as Dexter Lawrence. Now, I'm telling you, Dexter Lawrence is 350 pounds. But the Eagles handled him. He was 350-pound monster because he's been wrecking people's offenses throughout the year. But we didn't hear from him when the Eagles played him. He was out there, but we didn't hear from him. So they need to dominate this group the same way. If they can handle these guys, look out, okay? If they can handle these tackles and the linebackers, because a lot of times what they do is they'll start out on the tackles and then one guy come off on the linebacker. They'll pick them up. And times they'll have a tight end come in motion and go in there and get one of the linebackers and different things. But they have different ways of getting to them. But the big thing is, can they run up that middle? Can they run up that gut? Can they run however they do it? Can they run against this defense? Because if they can run against this defense, they're going to be able to throw the ball against this defense, because the Niners, they're good against the run. Against the pass, that's not the strength of their game against the pass. They play a lot of zone. They live in zone. They play zone. Now, their middle linebackers are their inside linebackers, Warner and Greenlaw, both of them outstanding athletes. They cover a lot of ground. They do a great job of playing that zone in the middle. They react to the pass. They go to make open field tackles. They get their hands on the ball, tip them up in the air, interceptions. They do a great job in there against the pass. But if you can run against them, that's going to slow them down against the pass, and that's going to slow them down everything they do. And they're not that big, so a big offensive lineman coming out on them, you can wear these guys down. I think the Eagles can wear them down. I think they can run the ball on them, and I think if they can run the ball on them, that's going to open up everything else. It's going to be very exciting if they run the ball on them. And I want to see them run the ball at Nick Bosa too, because Nick Bosa, he's leading the league. He led the league in sacks. What, he had 18. He plays hard. The guy runs. He's very strong. He'll get physical. He can run over bigger guys, and that's why Jordan Mailata's got to make sure he doesn't set up too high. Even though he's as big as he is, he's got to try to get his weight down to where he doesn't let this guy get up underneath him and run him over. Now, it's not easy to run over Mailata, who's 365 pounds, but Bosa's strong. So that's going to be interesting. Sometimes Bosa's going to be on the right side against Lane Johnson, and hopefully, Lane is healthy enough because he's playing with that injury. But we know that Lane, he's the best. As the right tackle in the league, he's as good as they get. So we're going to see with Bosa, but I'd like to see them run the ball at Bosa. Run at him, slow him down. Use that running game to slow down that pass rush. Because if the Eagles can slow down the pass rush, 49ers are in trouble because their secondary, they don't have any secondary where their corners are so great. Those corners are not that good. They live in zone because they're not comfortable with those corners in man-to-man. So they don't play a lot of man-to-man. They play man-to-man when they have to. And those corners have been beat all year. They have beaten them. DK Metcalf took them to the cleaners in the game before the Dallas game. He took them deep for 6. And the whole thing is, it's kind of like you got the big brother protecting the little brother, because the 49ers defensive line has been looking out for their corners because they put the pressure on, and then a lot of times those guys don't have a chance to get that ball off. And if a quarterback's under pressure, then he doesn't get the ball off. Even if a guy's open, if a quarterback's laying on his back or he's running for his life. So that's what we're getting into. That's going to be the game. And Jalen Hurts is going to give them something to think about, too, in the running game, which will make it easier. He makes it easier to run inside because of the threat of him pulling that ball out of there and going around the corner. Now, if he's able to do that once effectively, it's going to make the outside defenders in the 49ers defense, they got to stay at home. That means they can't go help. If the Eagles are effectively running the ball inside, they can't go help because he can pull that ball out and take off. So the whole thing is, you wonder, how healthy is he? Is he going to be comfortable taking getting sacked, getting that shoulder hit, So that's what's going to be very interesting. And so we're going to be interested in him because he presents a threat to defenses. And what he does is he lessens the number of guys that are going to be going after the ball because they got to make sure, hey, I got to make sure Hurts doesn't have the ball. So a lot of times that defensive end, he's staying put. Now, if he's going to go inside, Hurts sees him go inside, he pulls that ball out of there, takes off around the corner and runs for 15, 20 yards. And now the coach is yelling at that defensive end. Hey, you can't do that. You can't go inside. So what it does is it limits the number of players that are really defending the run. So the linebackers for the linebackers, Warner, Greenlaw, with their speed and quickness, they got to be careful throwing that ball in the middle. But I tell you what, I want to see them deal with that running game coming right at them. I want those guys firing off. Let's see if we can run that ball up that gut. With you got Armstead, who's a great player. He's in there, and we'll see. We'll see if they can hold up. Because that's what the fun is. That's where the competition is. Because the Eagles are going to be playing now the Cowboys. Was looking at the Cowboys game, looked at it closely, numerous times. They didn't have any weapons. Once Tony Pollard went down, it was just CD Lamb. He's about the only, legitimate, versatile weapon. And he's not that big. They got him running sweeps almost. Come on. They're trying to get the ball to him numerous times. To try to make plays. But they don't have anybody else to make plays. The Eagles don't have that problem. The Eagles have got numerous guys that can make plays, and that's going to put, this San Francisco defense, you can't double everybody. You can't double everybody. And there are going to be some mismatches where you get an Eagles receiver or a playmaker on a guy that he's a better athlete than that guy. And then we're going to see what happens. That's going to be interesting. But the Eagles have got, they got numerous weapons. It starts with A.J. Brown. Then you got Devontae Smith. And both of those guys are Pro Bowl level wide receivers. They can make plays. They can make plays one-on-one. And different times when they get on one-on-one situation, Jalen is going to give those guys a chance to make a play. Now, can the 49ers corners, can they cover these guys? Or will they grab them and have pass interference? That puts a lot of pressure on them. And then if they're just going to want to play zone. They want to play zone all the time. But they can't play zone all the time. They're going to have to man up. Now, Jalen will just be confident, and he's accurate with his throws, and he's patient. He can pick that zone apart, because of all the weapons the Eagles have. They have as many weapons as anybody in the league, maybe more. They've got a lot of guys that can hurt you because you talk about those receivers. And then you got a tight end like Goddard, who, Goddard is as good a tight end, as there is in the league. I mean, Kittle's outstanding, but I don't think he's any better than Goddard. He's not a better athlete where he's so much better. I mean, Goddard is a great blocker. He's an outstanding runner after he catches the ball. He runs routes. He got great hands. He can make plays. Only reason he's not in the Pro Bowl because he got hurt. But I think I put Goddard up, as good as anybody in the game. And Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, he's got a great feel. He and Mahomes and everything. But give me Goddard. I have no problem with Goddard because he's a better blocker than Kelce. I mean, Goddard is going to help them in their running game, and that's another reason. You got that outstanding offensive line. Then you got a great blocker at tight end like Goddard, and that's why they can run the ball. I think they can run the ball on the Niners. And once they start running that ball, if you're an Eagles fan and you see the Eagles running the ball effectively, you might as well start smiling because they are going to be able to throw the ball on the Niners. They're going to be able, because if they block Bosa, and if they got to double him. If they can block Bosa, they're gonna throw the ball against the Niners. And as long as everybody's doing their job, the ball's accurate, and guys are playing like they can, catching the ball, they can have some big plays. So that's what's going to be interesting. We're going to see how that whole thing plays out. But the 49ers cornerbacks, Travarius Ward, number 7. He was the one chasing DK Metcalf into the end zone, okay? But Travarius Ward, Diamador Lenoir, I believe that's the way it's pronounced, or Lina, whatever. Anyway, Diomandor, okay? He's the other. He's number 38. He had a big pick, big interception against the Cowboys. I mean, Dak Prescott, he really was awful. I mean, awful. Diamador picked off the pass, and he threw an out route, which he threw that was late. He's got Zeke Elliott wide open in the flat, but he doesn't throw to him. He throws it down there in harm's way. I mean, he did that a couple of times, and he's the reason they lost, because he missed guys who were open deep. He missed them, numerous guys who got open deep against the Niners, secondary coverage. But Dak couldn't connect with them, and so he missed the guy, and then he also threw the picks. The picks were both bad picks. Come on, the guy's covered. Why are you throwing to a guy that's covered? When he could check the ball down to one of the backs that's open. But just poor. He did not play well. But what it showed is, though, the Cowboys had receivers open, but the quarterback just didn't get them the ball. It wasn't where the Niners had blankets on everybody. No. The corners are shaky. I'm telling you, these guys can be beaten. And that's why they live in a zone, Like I said, it's like you got a little brother. You always protecting your little brother. Well, we want to make these little guys, the corners, we want to get them out there one-on-one, and then we block their pass rush, and they're in trouble. They're going to be yelling help because, they're not the best corners in the world. You don't have shut down corners out there. And the whole thing, with all that, of course, you got to go out and you got to do it. You got to execute. And, when Tony Pollard went down for the Cowboys, that was the end of their running game, too. Ezekiel Elliott can't get to the hole quick enough anymore. He doesn't have the burst. And when Pollard went down, that was pretty much it. They really couldn't do much offensively. And, they made a game of it. They had some opportunities, but they really didn't have guys with the burst. I mean, other than C.D. Lamb, and you really didn't have any other big weapons that really had the Niners really worried. But they respected Pollard and C.D. Lamb, and Pollard had a serious injury, kind of a real bad injury to his leg, so he left, and pretty much opportunities for the Cowboys left with them. But they did have some guys open deep. Michael Gallup got open deep. He was wide open, man. If he'd have just thrown the ball out there, but he had underthrows. But that's the Cowboys' problem. we don't want to worry about their problem. That's their problems. We want to talk about what we need to do. And, Jalen's got to be on the money. Come out, see what these guys are in. You don't have to force anything. Take what the defense gives him. He's got to be that way because they're in that zone. Take what the defense gives him. Take care of the football. Be patient. It's going to be the type of game where you want to take care of the football because clearly, turnovers are going to play a key role. But take care of the football. Now, you're going to see a lot of zone. Now, again, that deep ball is going to be the key. Can you get the running game going? That's pretty much it. If they get that running game going, then it's going to make the 49ers, they're going to have to try to make adjustments. But I don't know that they're going to be able to do much because the Eagles are going to spread them out. And, the Eagles have got weapons. I mean, when you've got A.J. Brown, who you get the ball to him, he's gonna bully some guys. Just like last week when he was outside, was out wide. They had him matched up against a little cornerback who was in there for the Giants, and they had him block him. And I knew right away it was a total mismatch. That's where he blocked him, and you had Devontae run that touchdown. He had the touchdown early in the game. That was a good move because they looked at him and said, "This guy's going to be following A.J. Brown. No way. If we have A.J. block him, that's a done deal because he's not big and strong enough to deal with A.J. Brown." And sure as day, that was almost like a walk-in touchdown. And so they want to be thinking about different things, different ways in which they can get after those corners because that's the key. Get after all of their cornerbacks and the nickel back and all those guys. They don't have anybody special back there. Those guys can be beaten, especially with the quality of receivers that the Eagles have. And it's just a matter of getting the time because the 49ers have had the pass rush where they haven't given people a lot of time, because Bosa's had such a great year and Armstead inside. He's not like most defensive tackles. He's got the long arms. That's going to be a challenge. Landon Dickerson, he's going to have his work cut out with him, so that's going to be a position where they're going to have to make sure that he doesn't get beat and he can give them the time. And then Jalen can go after that defensive backfield. But that's what's going to be. I think they can have success. I think they can get that running game going. And if they get the running game going, I tell you what, woo, thing could get very interesting. That's supposed to be the best defense in the NFL. We're going to find out. Eagles got a pretty good defense. And we're going to find out. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to be talking tomorrow. I'll be talking about the Eagles defense against the 49ers offense. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But remember, Eagles going to come out, get that running game going. They'll be running the RPOs with Jalen. And you're going to see, also, different read options, basically where at any time he can pull that ball out and take off around the corner. And we'll see how they play it. You will see how much yardage the Eagles are getting in there. Because you see if they start, they get things going like they had against the Giants, where they just kept on going back to the well and going back to the well. And see, the defense really can't go in there and gang up in there because they know Jalen can always pull that ball out and take off around corner, and he's running and there's nobody out there. They would rather give up, 6-7 yards inside than big run outside with Jalen. So that's what's going to be interesting. But the Eagles, they have that type of pressure on the defense where there's always an option that Jalen can have, which is to take the ball out of there and take off around the corner. But we'll be talking to you tomorrow about when the Niners have the ball and the Eagles, because it's going to be a challenge for the Eagles defense. because the Niners have a lot of weapons. And they got some good ones. And this is going to be a great game. So look forward to talking about it. I'll talk to you tomorrow.